My name is Pauline, and as you can probably tell from my accent, I recently moved from a conventional public school in France to study the International Baccalaureate here in the UK. And one thing that struck me is the different perspective you get from one system to another in terms of understanding the world. In fact, studying here had a profound impact on my perspective, exposing me to various global issues that were previously unknown to me. Because back in France, my education mainly focused on French history and key figures who shaped our nation's narrative. But when I moved here to Britain, I quickly realized the significant gaps I had in my knowledge and my previous state of ignorance. Especially 2 years ago, when I was taught about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Well, as you already know, it is an incredibly impacting, complex issue that I've never covered before. And I should have, because if I did not get the education I have now, I wouldn't even be able to understand the causes of the recent terrorist attacks that happened in my own country. Exactly 3 years after Samuel Paty's death, a history teacher beheaded for showing caricatures of religion, another teacher has been killed, Dominique Bernard. And it does not only stop there. Last Saturday, a tourist got stabbed and others were injured by a man screaming that too many Arab people were being killed. And I'm not here to talk about these horrible attacks because, as you can see, I am neither a history professor nor a politician. But as a student, what I realized is what all these attacks had in common is that they were all encouraged and linked to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Therefore, it made me wonder how crazy it is that learning about global issues makes you understand national issues. And in this context, it is essential to consider the huge responsibility held by the people in charge of deciding what we learn in school. Because they shape our education and how we view the world. Then if we want students to be informed citizens in this interconnected world, the selection of topics studied in school must be extremely careful. Because ironically enough, we're enjoying lots of tech tools, right? Such as social networks, AIs, you name them. They're supposed to give us the opportunity to learn about a huge variety of topics. But very often, we end up reading or watching pieces of information targeting our own centers of interest, reinforcing our own belief when we would need to be taught others' opinions. And that's where we need a very open educational system, not a country-centered one. And this brings me to the issue at hand. Why our educational systems are not more open and inclusive when it comes to teaching international histories. Because I believe they're far more connected than we might think they are. If you look at the American Revolution, inspired by Enlightenment ideals, and the French Revolution, not only did it lead to the formation of the United States itself, but also influenced other nations seeking independence from colonial rule. And even within programs like the International Baccalaureate, the scope can be quite narrowed. I'm a psychology student, and I've only learned about behaviors tested on Western cultures. Does the word international only include Western countries? Then you see, by neglecting other cultural perspective, it led us to miss out on understanding the impacts of psychology across diverse societies. And what is even crazier is that it even led us to perpetuate harmful behaviors towards others. While some individuals may perceive a historical event as simply a fact, there is much more depth to it. For example, we're typically taught about European explorers during colonization times and their interaction with indigenous people through a Eurocentric lens. However, it is important to see that this perspective overlooks significant elements in our educational systems. In reality, by disregarding the pre-colonial indigenous societies and their cultural destruction, we were unable to understand them and treat them equally. And this resulted in ongoing systematic discrimination. All in all, educational systems should embrace a wider view on other cultures' perspective and history. Because education is not just the math formula you learned last week that you wonder, when will I ever use it? It is how we view the world and act on it. It is discrimination and even terrorism. This is why education should bring the knowledge and understanding necessary to cement our ability to live together. And I may not be able to change the world by myself, but as a student, I need to be taught a 360-degree understanding of it. Thank you.